Hola, Chicana and Latina moms, ¿cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. My name is Amapola Ramirez. I am the creator and host of Chicana and Latina Moms podcast. Thank you so much for making the time to click here and hear this episode. So as you can see, my episodes are a little different. That's because the platform I was using, I was able to create all this music. And right now, I am recording my episodes, pero no tengo música. So I'm learning. Voy aprendiendo, right? So just be patient. You will see eventually some changes as I move forward. This is the reason why it's like, ¿qué pasa con la musiquita? Well, I me aventé esto del podcast porque pues I was like, I want to be able to share my story, but for some reason, like the music aspect, like it's been a challenging and my son's helping me. So tenga paciencia conmigo, por favor. So, anyways, in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about living a slow life as a Latina, reclaiming rest, joy, and presence. So, reclaiming rest, and we're like, why aren't we reclaiming it? Was it gone? Well, at some point, it seemed like it was gone, even though the choice has always been there. So, let's talk about it. So, we'll explore what it means to live a slow life as a Latina and Chicana, especially you guys in a culture where we're expected to do it all, right? As mujeres. From breaking those generational cycles of hustle and sacrifice to embracing rest without guilt. This conversation that we're going to have is a reminder that we are allowed to pause, breathe, and just be. So let's start off with like the first thing that is on the list here, which is cultural pressure to hustle. Siempre hay que estar haciendo algo, right? The glorification of being busy. Si no puedes estar de huevona, te tienes que levantar, tienes que cocinar, tienes que lavar, tu casa tiene que oler a cloro, a fabuloso, los niños tienen que estar bañados, el perro también, darles de comer, ir a la marqueta. I mean, there's always something to do, right? And we all grew up, I think most of us grew up always seeing that from our mothers or our fathers, siempre hay que estar haciendo algo. Y eso definitivamente viene del trauma, right? The trauma of like, I can't stay still because I have to hustle, because if I don't hustle, I won't have money to survive. And how am I going to feed my family? And it's understandable. And that's really the unfortunate part of our culture. And for those who grew up in poverty, right? Like both of my parents grew up in poverty and, no tengo dinero y esto lo otro, it's just, we see it and we have to be able to identify that so that we're able to then heal, right? And not continue this generational trauma to continue to just pass down through generation, right? Because how generational survival shaped our work ethic has a lot to do with the choices we're making right now. If you feel like, okay, I have to go to work, I have to clean, I have to take care of the kids, I won't ask for help. This, even here, you guys, sometimes when our kids are old enough to do things on their own, sometimes ahí vamos y le hacemos un huevo. No, levántate tú y haz tu huevito porque ya te enseñé. So there's this thing, right? Because we love through food, we love like caring for our kids, but at some point we have to be able to let go. I made a video on TikTok and I was talking about how I met this lady probably like a few years ago, and she was very ill and her husband had left her. They separated. They still got along, but he wasn't supportive. And so she ended up living with her three kids, two young adults and one like older adolescent. And so she was really, really sick. And so what happened is that she ended up in dialysis and she had to have a specific diet. And this diet, obviously, for people who are diabetic or any illnesses, you know that the specific diets that they have to eat are very crucial. Like it's so important. So she would share that she never taught any of her kids how to cook, and when it came to clean, it was kind of like half-assed in a way. And she's like, she would cry. She was like, now I depend on my children and they can't even like make un caldo de pollo. She tries to guide them, no se prestan, because obviously throughout their whole life, they weren't used to it. And so now they're like, now I have to do it. I mean, it's really unfortunate, right? So we want to be able to provide these survival tools to our kids so at the same time we get to rest, right? Because a veces lo que ocurre es que muchos padres a veces no tienen esa confianza, like they don't trust their own like kids, like how can I say, there's a word that I don't want to use. Um, they doubt their intelligence. Like, no, no va a poder. Nunca lo ha hecho. Okay, well, nunca lo ha hecho, pero lo va a hacer. Every human being, you guys, every human being, we are capable of learning so many things if we put the effort. Like for me, an example, I don't know how to swim, but I'm like, si le echo ganas, voy a aprender. And that's on my bucket list. So trust me, like there's going to be times where you're going to doubt your child, but let them learn. Let them learn, and undoing the guilt tied to rest. Because if you grew up hearing, ya levántate, estás de huevona. I mean, I grew up hearing that from my mom. And I'm like, I'm not huevona. I've been in school Monday through Friday. I wake up so early. You yell. I'll kid you not, you guys, my mom yelled every single morning. It was so annoying. But there was an organization. There was a lot of anxiety. I get it. A lot of trauma in her life. I've talked about this in my other previous episodes, but there was always that guilt that you can't rest because she was on this mode of like just just going and going and going. And because she didn't have family members to help her out, there was a lot on her plate. And that's understandable. And it's really sad, right? When we know that our parents immigrated to this country and they didn't have that support system. So cargan todo ellos mismos. So as mothers, we want to be able to remind ourselves like it's okay to be selfish. It's okay for me to lay down after I clean my kitchen. Or I'm going to lay down for like a few minutes and then I'll clean my kitchen. And that's still okay, right? But if you even have like a partner, like a husband or a partner that's just telling you, like, porque estás huevona, and you're like, I'm not, like, what? And that causes issues, it's really important to have a conversation. This is how it makes me feel when you say this. And I don't appreciate it. I don't want to make you feel, that you're incompetent or anything like that, but please don't do it to me. It is meeting halfway, right? So the cultural pressures to hustle is real. Now, what is the slow life movement here? Living intentionally and mindfully. We want to live with intention of like, I'm going to wash my hair slowly and with love. And I'm going to soak in the smell of the shampoo. That's one way. The other thing is like, you know what? When I go and pick up my kids from school, I'm going to intentionally soak in the beautiful sun. I'm going to look at the sky and the grass, and I'm going to, like, intentionally be mindful of, my feelings. And if I feel they're irritated, it's okay. Like, talk to yourself with self-compassion and go pick up your kids and look at their funny little smiles, because you going to pick up your kids from school, eventually they're going to be in high school, and then, yeah, like they're in college and they're on their own. You're going to always like miss that. Some mothers, I've been there myself. You're not alone. It's kind of sometimes rushing and picking up the kids because I have to go do this. Slow down. Slow down. When you do things more like intentionally and slower, not like super slow, but I mean like more con calma, you're not going to make mistakes. If you're on the freeway and you miss the exit, it's okay. Let it be. Te sales en la otra. I mean, it's just like not in the point. I'm not trying to say like, be kind of what is the word? Just very whatever, dismissive. No, like I'm talking about intentional and mindful, that there's going to be things in the moment that you can change and some you can't. But you do have always a choice to be mindful and intentional with the things that you're doing. So this is the piece here of how to live a slow life. Choosing presence over productivity. Sometimes people think that they have to do 10, 20 things to be productive. It can be one thing from you just deep cleaning your room that week, maybe, or that day, however you want to perceive it, right? And it's like, okay, I'm gonna deep clean my closet. That was one productive thing, or I'm gonna cook a good meal. Okay, maybe that was two. So it's choosing presence over productivity. And presence is you being mindful in the moment. When you're productive, you're disconnected. You're disconnected with life. You're disconnected with your emotions. You're either frustrated, angry, you want to do everything perfectly. By the way, when people say, I'm a perfectionist, first of all, there's no human being in this planet Earth that is perfect. So when people tell themselves I'm a perfectionist, you're one, yes, you're not perfect, but two, you're making the effort to do things right y que se vea bonito, but at the same time, you know, as your person, for those of you who have stated this, I'm a perfectionist, that la vas a regar. La has regado y la vas a seguir regando, but you want to be able to be very careful with that label because it's going to be very exhausting for you to honor it. And if you tell people that, people are going to have this perception she is a perfectionist. And then you hear it, you own it, and it's exhausting mentally. So be very careful with that. You want to be able to live a soul life, you know? And also, how does it apply, to mujeres raising children, working and healing? Like, tengo que ir a trabajar, tengo que crear a mis hijos, pero quiero sanar. Like, where is there even time? For example, if you work a 9 to 5, I've been there, right? 9 to 5. And then it's like, okay, I have to pick up the kids. Let's say the after school program until 6. You go pick them up. You go home. You have to cook. You have to make sure they do their homework. You have to bathe them. And by the time it's like 10, 11, you're drained. And then here comes the weekend and you're like, I'm just going to rest, puedes huevonear or whatever. You deep clean and you're like hustling, right? Where in that week did you ever make time to heal? Like to heal. And what I mean by that is, did you take the time to write on your journal? Did you take the time to make an appointment with your therapist? Did you make a time to pray, to meditate, to exercise, to stretch your body? What have you done? This is the importance of slowing down and doing things with intention because the healing belongs only to you. No one's going to do that for you. So we want to be able to take the time. Even if you're at work and you're like, no quiero convivir siempre at work con las muchachas or las personas que trabajas, right? And you're like, you know what? Like, it's okay for you to say, hey, you guys, this time I'm just going to go chill in my car. If you want to sit there and just kind of have like an unwind, especially if you work in an environment that's dealing with people, and especially if you have a very toxic boss. That's like the worst. When you have a supervisor that is toxic, manipulator, and just like egocentric, is just so annoying and unpleasant. But that's another topic that I think I'm going to talk about because that's going to require for you to really think like, is this place making you like want to go to work or it's making you like just like disconnected from your being and from what you're doing. So that's very an important question for you to ask yourself if you're in that position, of course. Um, so the other thing is redefining productivity, right? We talked about that. We don't have to do all of these things at the same time. Well, we can't do it at the same time, but like I have to do 10 things today to be productive. No, productivity doesn't equal worth. I'm going to repeat that. Productivity doesn't equal worth. Just because you do 10, 20 things does not mean that, like, okay, now you're worthy, and then tomorrow you're unproductive and you're unworthy. No, not at all. Rest is productive too, but especially when you're healing generational wounds, when you are doing something intentionally, something that's like, esto es para bien, o lo estoy haciendo porque quiero, porque no quiero, y pues no me siento con las ganas. Like you're not really, it's not intentional and there's no purpose, if that makes sense. Sometimes people think being productive um, is chismear, right? Like, oh, that was productive. I engaged with people today, but it was all gossip. Like, what? So, the real life examples are based on you, on the things that you do, right? Like waking up without rushing. Okay. It's getting up from bed slowly. Many people who wake up rushing out don't put the alarm or they are just going to bed late. They don't really care so much about like that morning routine. And morning routines are very important. right? Another thing we can do is to create a quiet ritual. It can be from you drinking your cafecito, your tecito, praying, journaling, sitting outside for a little bit before you go to work if you have time. I met a lady that said she woke up like at 4 in the morning, and I was like, oh my goodness. She's like, honestly, it's the best thing. Y se va bien arreglada al trabajo. She's like, me voy arreglada y calmada because I took my time. I'm not there yet personally, to be honest. I am not there. I'm gonna have to try it. 4 in the morning, I tried 6, okay. But at 4, I was like, I admire you. I admire you. The other thing that we can do to be able to have these real life situations in our life so that we are living a slower vida is saying no without guilt. You don't have to say yes to everybody. If you feel, because we all have a sense of belonging. We all want to belong. And if at some point you always say yes for everything, and then you feel guilty because te traicionaste porque dijiste sí, but you meant no. You want to be able to say no without guilt. But in the beginning, let me tell you, it is okay to feel guilt in the beginning. With time, you're going to feel like I don't feel guilty anymore. It's going to take practice. And the reason you feel guilt is because for once you've been able to actually put yourself first in a way of like self-respect. And we don't have to people please people. Uh, we don't. Y si hay gente que se ofende, pues déjenlos que se ofendan. Maybe you're doing them a favor. You're teaching them that trigger's coming up for the 7,323rd time. And maybe for the next trigger, va a decir, ¿y por qué siempre me hace sentir así? Huh? And they start exploring, and all of the answers start coming up. You never know. That's what happens to us human beings. We want to be able to have ancestral connection. Our abuelas move slowly in sacred ways. And the ways they would do it was cooking, storytelling, gardening, right? Um, and we know que cuando cocinan las abuelitas, cocinan así bien despacito, así, with intention, with purpose and love, because saben que si sale, I remember one of my uncles, I'm going to say this, la sopa de fideo, and I think someone was cooking sopa de fideo, and no la dejaron que se dorada un poquito, and and he's like, no, ya está cruda la sopa. Está cruda. Ya estuvo. He's like, you have to be able to take time para que se toste el fideo porque sabe mejor. And it's so true. So true. But anyways, we want to be able to reconnect with traditions that honor slowness. Just as that, just como nuestras abuelitas iban a la iglesia, oraban, tomaban su tiempo en la iglesia, cocinaban, right? Y cuando contaban una historia, lo contaban con detalles y ahí estamos ahí viendo y escuchando lo que dicen. So we want to be able to always be mindful of not disconnecting with our ancestors. Our abuelitas, que, one of with mine, I have passed away, and I think of my great grandmothers and mis tatarabuelas, and I'm just wondering, like how much did they suffer? I have definitely been able to see trauma very clear through many of my family members, and it's sad. It's heartbreaking, but I'm not going to justify people's traumas so that I can be like, oh, pues voy a dejar que me sigan faltando al respeto because they went through trauma. No, I understand the story. I don't know all the details because um my parents are not going to share. I mean, I think many of you can relate that your parents will not share so much of those details because it was very hurtful, right? They've gone through so many poverty and sad stories and things like that. But that should not stop us, right, from reconnecting because I'm sure there's also beautiful things that our family has gone through to be able to push through for us to even be here, right? So, practical tips for living slowly. Start your day with intention instead of your phone. You guys, I'm guilty of this. There's times where I just like, okay, because I have my little my app. It's like also Bible verses and I read and like I like to read them every morning. And that's what I do the first thing, but it's on my phone. So I'm thinking, okay, should I change it? I mean, it's worked for me for 2 years. I have my Bible, so I'm like, okay. So I try my best to like just every morning be intentional and pray and have this connection like with God and just have silence. That's what I do. But I understand, we're so used to just grabbing our phones and, just going on social media. So I guess in that case, we have to be able to be very cautious and intentional with that. You also want to be able to build buffer time into your schedule. You want to be able to like kind of be like, okay, where in here can I schedule something for myself? And so that I can just kind of reset, right? To kind of, yeah, buffer my life here. You also want to be able to choose joy, and the way, because joy is internal, happiness is external. So joy is like going for a walk, cooking with love, watching the sunset. Yes, all that can be external, but at the same time, as you're sitting there, is what causes that joy. You're not buying the sunset, right? You have food in your home and you're cooking it. You're going for a walk that is free. I mean, joy doesn't require for you to buy things. Joyful things, which is a very feared emotion actually by many people, because once they start feeling joy, they feel like it's a matter of time for something wrong to happen and ya valió madre, or padre. So, I want to leave you with this. The final reflection, like in affirmations for a slower life. Yo merezco descansar sin culpa. Yo merezco descansar sin culpa. Rest is resistance. Slowness is healing. Joy is our birthright. Los dejo con esto. I hope it brings food for thought so that you're able to slow down. We don't want to live a fast, rushed life y se va la vida y ya valió. No. Enjoy every moment with your being. Love yourself. Love your family. And yes, and if there's people out there that you don't like and their family, love them from far. And if there's people that you're just like, I can't stand them, they're teaching you something that you still have not yet healed. We all are connected. And although that's kind of like difficult sometimes to accept, that's just the truth. So remember, sometimes the truth hurts, right? Les deseo todo lo mejor. Cuídense and stay tuned for more. Adios.